everyone. Today's video is about innovation and innovation being the process of idea management. So when we think of innovation, let's think of innovation or innovation efforts. We think of innovation as a portfolio similar to a stock portfolio, and you want to diversify your holdings in your portfolio. So similar to diversifying our portfolio of stocks, we're going to diversify our portfolio of innovation, meaning that we are going to think of innovation as a process and a process to manage. So here we see that the key to successful innovation is not resource allocation, but it is creating a structure which allows us to manage that process, and as well to create that climate, that organizational climate within the organization that is conducive to innovation, that does foster innovation. What we do not want is what is our cartoon here, is to say our innovation management has 17,000 ideas in it. However, the second person is saying, yes, but we've only implemented 3 of the ideas. So therefore, we do have a process. There is a process to go through. And in this, we can see that the process of generating those ideas is working just fine. But what comes next, then we've got to implement the ideas that have been generated. So when we think of innovation, we've got actually 2 views. There's a traditional view and a more modern view, or a current view, a contemporary view. And the traditional view that we have here is that innovation is what? Or that invention is what? Looking at the differences between innovation and invention. And so the traditional view is that invention is the creation of something new via development of what? New knowledge, or it is a combination of existing knowledge. So here we have our invention of the wheel and innovation being the car. And so that traditional view of innovation is the commercialization of invention to produce a new good, service, or a method of production. And so saving time equals saving money. Obviously, that is true. However, innovation can include new design, but it's not necessary that innovation include new technology. So innovation we can think of as the process of idea management for the new view. So going from that traditional view to the new view, that we think of innovation again is a process, and a process of what? Managing ideas. So what are those steps? The first are to generate the ideas. The second step is to select the idea that you want to implement. Then the third step is implementing the ideas. And so what we saw from our cartoon earlier is that the generating idea step is going gangbusters, but selecting of the idea and implementing of the idea, they had stopped at the generation standpoint, or stopped at the generation step. So we need not only to generate those 17,000, but we need to select which of those ideas out of the 17,000 are attractive to implement. Then we implement the idea, and then we need to do what? We need to sustain, maintain that innovation. How do we do that? By keeping the internal people that were engaged with the original selection and implementation of that idea, making sure that they are engaged all the way through to make that idea a real occurrence. And then we spread that innovation, we spread those ideas throughout the organization. And so looking at this new way of conceptualizing innovation as a process of idea management, we find that we actually have an innovation ecosystem. And so how does that innovation ecosystem, how does looking at the process as a process of idea management, how is that more effective than perceiving the whole process as commercialization? Well, management is not a scary word. Management is something that people do every day. Managing ideas, taking those ideas, selecting those ideas, implementing those ideas. When we think of commercialization, we think of what? We think of making money. Yes, we do want to make money, but we have got the focus there on that end result, instead of that focus being on the process and each step of the process. And so that focus does not allow us, focus on the commercialization does not allow us to correctly, amply evaluate each of our steps, evaluate each of our options, if you want to think of it that way. So collaboration, how does collaboration improve our whole system? It's that we need to have that exchange of ideas going back and forth. And so that exchange of ideas is what fosters that environment, that fosters that understanding of those options, fosters that understanding of what those steps are, and performing those steps, evaluating those steps within the process of innovation management. And one thing that I would like for you to think about, you yourself individually, is to think about where is your place in that value network, that innovation ecosystem. What can you do for your company to help improve that statistic of not just having the 17,000 generated ideas, but how many ideas have we implemented? So what we find is that companies that are innovative share 5 major traits. And this was an article by Tim Castelli, who is it comes from an article by Tim Castelli, who is the Director of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the University of Queensland in Australia. And he says that those 5 traits are the belief system, structure equals commitment, process that leans on research. You want to make sure that your talent is encouraged and your talent is rewarded, and then there is a connected culture. So the author there of the articles is Mary Meehan. That article was in Forbes. She talked with Tim Castelli, and when we look at those innovative traits, our first trait again is the belief system. And so what is our belief system? It's believing that invention depends upon creativity. And where does creativity, where do we get creativity? How do we stimulate creativity? It's that interaction going back and forth. Innovation depends upon what? Collaboration and cross-functional integration. So it is that collaboration that fosters an environment of inquiry. So thinking about what is going on, and that allows what? Experimentation to safely rearrange ideas and structures. And when you think of rearranging, what do I think of when I think of rearranging? I think of building blocks. I think of Legos. And so I think of rearranging those individual small plastic pieces with the little bumps that go up. What are you creating? You can create a truck, you can create a ship, you can create a building, you can create a person, you can create a boat. So that safely rearranging those structures for our collaboration, for that environment of inquiry, for that safety to realize that you have the ability and should be failing at some point. You are going to fail. We want those failures. Think of Edison saying that I believe it was 10,000 failures, 100,000 failures, however many times it was he to fail when he was creating light bulb. And he says it was a chance for him to do something different and to succeed. So that looking at rearranging the ideas, so managing those ideas for innovation. And so that is what we think of as risk management. Think of innovation as a process to be managed. As well, we talked about structure. And what do we mean when we say structure? How do we structure? How does the firm, how does the company, how does the organization structure so that that innovation can be repeated again and again and again? Well, one of the ways to do that is to commit to a percentage of growth that your company expects to come from that innovation. So what does that do? That puts the focus there on that innovation as a process, and to say, yes, we do expect. And so the whole company is aware of those expectations. The whole company is aware that we as a company need to do what? Need to innovate, meaning that we need to manage those ideas. We also want to obsolete ourselves before our competition does. So that there's a slide that I have that Goya had painted. It was Saturn eating his children. We need to eat our children before someone else does, because trust me, someone else will. So we want that to be us, to be obsoleting our products so that we can have newer products or more enhanced products that will meet the needs of our consumers. Also, we need to have certain metrics that we have agreed to, but the metrics that do what? That look at whether those products or services should be continue to go through those stage gates, so we can think of our options that we had. Do we want to continue based upon that reevaluation at every stage of those products? And as well, to show that this is important, the innovation, if we are going to have our innovation as a section or as a group, that innovation reporting directly to, or that manager or those managers reporting directly to the CEO or the COO with regard to that with regard to that innovation. So they might not report directly to the CEO for their normal jobs, but when they are tasked with that innovation, there's something that they can carry through, then those important tasks can go up to the CEO or the COO. Also, research. So when we look at research, we should spend more time on discovery than on invention, more time on rearranging, more time on understanding what are the behaviors and the drivers of the customers. How can we put those existing ideas, those existing technologies, those existing components together to solve a problem for our customer? Think of what attributes can be combined to create something that is new. And then as well, I believe this was Edison as well, that a problem well stated is a problem half solved. So think of what is that problem that we are trying to solve as well. One of the traits that companies have is making sure that the talent is rewarded, the talent is encouraged. So when we think of creative people, what do creative people typically want? They want a sense of purpose. They want a sense of value. They want to think that they're making a difference for the company, that they are in it to make a difference. They do want a sense of freedom, a sense of fun. So you think of, why do we have these ping pong tables in the main area? Why do we have snacks there in the kitchen? Why does a company offer gym memberships, for example? Think of that recognition and opportunity for educational and professional growth. Think of LinkedIn Learning. If your company offers LinkedIn Learning subscription, think of conferences that you can go to. Think of a hackathon. So the hackathon there that awards prizes for and recognition, the whole company recognizes what these different teams are doing within the hackathon, the company's hackathon, to think of what are these new initiatives there. So those people who are interested in that are doing it because they do want to make a difference, but they also want to be recognized. So what does the firm want? The firm wants the right people with the right skills in the right spot with the right team. And so those teams there can come together, especially for a hackathon. These may be people who are working in different parts of the organization that do come together and have a particular idea that they want to push forward. And so when we think of the secret of high performance, why are these high performers producing these results? Because their drive is to do things that matter, that have a purpose, to make a difference for the strategic performance of the firm. Another trait is connected culture. So innovation depends upon that connection of peoples. They need to have access to each other, access to their ideas. They need to be, again, recognized and rewarded. And it's a cross-functional team from different areas that is actually more valuable in many ways than is just than an isolated research and development function. Those people all over there by themselves who don't ever talk with anybody else. How are they going to get their information? Research and development obviously is extremely important, but what is going to give them their stimulus? It's by talking with different groups of people that have different sets of ideas, that look at problems differently, that look at situations differently. So this connected culture there is what will as well help the company to manage that innovation.